Welcome back to Stats 7 Sports. I'm Contain Kunas, and we're finally getting talk about the MLB proposal, a few other sports trying to get their talks going, and trying to get just into the process of potentially more sports coming back. But honestly, that's not always going to be. It's not going to be as cut and dry as just saying that fans want sports back. A lot of players want sports back. We should just find a time once the virus has kind of calmed down. This is where we should start. So, based off of that, Major League Baseball of the owners put out a proposal that the owners had agreed on, which does include for this case a few things that they were expecting to do before this whole coronavirus idea was going to go down, but everything that this proposal is going for is going to be based off of this season alone. We'll see how it ends up going on towards latter seasons and further on with 2021, 2022, and so on, whenever things hopefully go back to normal. But this is a proposal that all the owners have agreed on, and so it's going to be one thing that the players are going to have to agree on as well, going into the players union, to where they have to end up voting on it, which there is going to be some complications off of it, as it really is for any sort of major agreement they're trying to go to try to limit concerns on potentially pick up the virus or anything else on that. But just going on to what the proposal has said. So if this goes as planned, we'll get an 82 game season, and all the playoffs are going to expand from 10 teams to 14 teams. So each league will have 7 teams in it. So I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work, but more than likely it will be kind of just an additional 2 teams on it, with the wild card teams 6 and 7 likely going to play where the top team left is. But yeah, 14 teams, an 82 game season, and because a lot of states some states are more than willing to start things up as soon as possible. Other ones are trying to wait until September. In the latter case, that's usually around the West Coast and California-ish. But that's actually more of a factor. Yes, that's a factor in Major League Baseball, but that's going to be more of a factor towards other leagues in the fall. But it's going to be using home stadiums in areas that governments have approved to be able to start up maybe like the smaller gatherings, and there's just being able to the ones that don't have the stay-at-home orders, as Louisiana has just kind of gone through started up stage 1 to be able to not have to deal with all of these stay-at-home orders. But going back onto just how everything's going to get started. So spring training is probably going to get started based off of their proposal some point in mid-June, to where players are going to have about a 3-week stretch to be able to go through all the prep work that they need to do to get into game shape and all of that. And then there's a talk, and potentially you get games to start back up between like July 1st and July 10th. Then there's the idea that has been set to where most people have been expecting it for a long while. You're going to have universal designated hitters. Both American League and National League will have designated hitters in their lineup instead of having their pitchers bat. So that's just going to match up on both sides. Sorry, that's going to be bad for like a Madison Bumgarner and some others like that. But outside of that, you're not going to get that much. You're not going to get a wide enough disapproval for it. Then you are going to get kind of a limited stretch of how far people are going to be able to travel to go to games. like all the teams they'll be playing, they're going to be, for a lot of the point, be kind of subjugated to going against teams that are in a fairly local area. Like AL East teams are going to be playing mainly teams from the AL East and other teams in their conference. You're not going to see much of interleague games, except for the ones like you might still see Yankees Mets. You might still see Houston Texas, things like that. But you're not going to get you're not going to get some of the Seattle versus Miami. That's going to be a little bit further out to make that happen. So they are kind of expanding some of the rosters as well to where instead of a 27-man roster, you get a 30-man roster. Well, instead of a 25-man roster, it goes to 30. But that's actually playoff. But you can have another 20 players basically available to, all they say, being taxied over there. So they'll have kind of 20 extra players essentially through like their minor league system or anyway alongside of that can play in the games that'll be on their roster, especially wherever you can get kind of a longer stretch, and it'll be a lot more difficult to be able to get into a lot of their minor league systems to be able to bring it up. So I'll speak on that in another way in a second. Then the biggest issue for this entire proposal, because of the fact that you basically have set up for a half season, the owners are trying to set it to where the players and the owners are going to have a revenue split to where essentially the players will be only to get a partial amount of their revenue. So really, like half the revenue that is made overall is going to be just split between both players and owners, and not something that's going to be set strictly on a player's salary. So someone's salary, let's just say one of the highest ones in the league, Bryce Harper, he's not going to get his entire contract for this season alone. It's going to be essentially shut down into kind of a box of however much that is made overall in their revenue for this season. And then that's just going to get split out percentage-wise between each player based off of what they earn, what their salary earned, and it's just going to be kind of split, not evenly, but it's going to be split more in percentages based off of the contract. I know that's kind of going in, that's kind of just kind of running around with it, but it's not going to be set to where someone like Mike Trout's going to make the amount of money as, let's just say, a former LSU player, Austin Nola. That's not going to match up. Like, Mike Trout's still going to make a higher percentage of money than some of the just kind of barely kind of scraping the surface to make a roster. Yes, you're going to have more people making a roster, but it's just going to be a lot. No player is going to make their full salary at this point. So, and in that case, for the fact that we are still just getting onto some states dropping their stay-at-home order, California is one of the big states that have said that they're not going to be able to do public gatherings until September. So for that case, you're going to have some trouble being able to get some of the Western teams like the Oakland, San Francisco, the two LA teams to be able to have games whatsoever. But you're going to have to get it to a point where they can at least get out. And really because of that, you're going to have to get kind of a majority. Well, you're going to have to get all the teams to be able to actually play before you can get this season started. But you have to be able to make it to where all the states can at least agree that games can be played. But that doesn't mean that the full revenue is going to end up being there. So early on, if not for most of the season, you have to expect that all these teams will be playing in stadiums without fans in it whatsoever. And like you're not going to be able to get the income for Yankees games for all the fans. They're going to be essentially just getting their monetary value pretty much off of TV contracts and all of that. TV contracts, viewership, and then a few other levels off of that going down. So what the players have to basically try and agree upon, and there's been a few that have already kind of disagreed with the whole revenue splits, they are going to have to take some sort of discount because they're just, the entire major league is not going to make enough money because the value of Major League Baseball has kind of diminished since the early 2000s. Whenever you had kind of that, where you had the steroid era and all of that. So what those revenue splits really are going to do, it's essentially making a salary cap for a league that does not have a salary cap. So it's like at this point, Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, two of the highest contracts, that's going to be the max amount that anybody's going to get. And they're not going to get their full contract. There could be like a 50% discount on like a 50% monetary decrease in what players are going to make this year. It's going to only last for this season, but in order for Major League Baseball to be able to recoup some of their funds that they're going to be lacking with the lack of fans, it's going to affect the entire system of it, between owners, between players, and then the third one, with everyone in minor leagues. So from some reports I'm hearing is the fact that minor league baseball is going to be very hard to make happen because there's not going to be fans for it. And there's been contracts to where about 40 of the minor league teams were going to be trying to fight to get a new contract to keep going through this season and beyond. And as of May 24th coming up, whenever May 24th comes, there is a salary agreement that I don't know the full kind of disclosure of it, but the salary that players are supposed to get at that time, basically for an advance notice payment, that expires after May 24th. So we don't know if they could still get their contract as it is, like their salary as it is in each of these players' contracts going on after that, but that's basically because of COVID-19. And from that, we've had players like Blake Snell from Tampa Bay, like Bryce Harper and Trevor Bauer for Cincinnati, saying that they don't want to be playing on a reduced salary, that they won't be playing a reduced salary in these difficult times to where they might get the virus and all of that. So they are saying that they likely will not play at a reduced salary, which this may just be the very start of it for players. You're going to get the split between the players. More likely it's going to be between the players that have the larger contracts before COVID-19, trying to say that it's not worth it for them to be playing for less money than their contract is worth currently. Now, then there's the players that are making near minimum or that are making just like a couple million a year towards the lower part of the salary spectrum. They're very likely trying to just get back in. They'll probably go on playing without it, without worrying about it too much. But it's all going to end up messing the entire thing up because with no fans in the stadium, you're going to lose 40% of your revenue as a league. I don't know the exact numbers, but 40% pay for over, if you go with 25, 32, well, 25, 30. So 7,500 players. And that's it. Yeah, 7,500 players, all making multiple millions of dollars a year, essentially. And you're losing 40% of where all that revenue would come from. And because of this, minor league baseball is probably not going to end up happening because they have even less of a budget than what Major League. They have much lower budget than Major League Baseball, so they pretty much have to rely on every single bit of funding that they can get. And what that also does affect is what's also been announced for, we now have an exact date of one thing I predicted, I heard from a while back, but this was made kind of official. So we do have the MLB draft that's going to be set for June 10th to June 11th, a 5-round draft instead of the 40-round draft that we normally have. They're going to end up copying the NFL draft format and doing it all virtually. So yeah, you're not going to get the entire boardroom there of players and agents and GMs, all that, just going over and going through the 40 rounds of picks. So you're only going to have you're going to have 37 picks in the first round, and then all of it's combining for 160 picks as a team. So yes, everyone's going to have their set amount of money that they can spend on those 5 rounds. No more or less. But everything else after that, if you have more players that want to end up signing, they can only sign for a $20,000 contract. For a $20,000 contract, and it does end up helping Major League for the temporary time frame, to where it's going to save teams about $30 million in a time where many budgets are going to be shrunk immensely. Like all the budgets for MLB is going to be shrunk. It'll be shrunk immensely. So any sort of saving that they can end up having is going to help them, hopefully for the long run. And it's going to make some very interesting decisions for a bunch of the players coming up from college and some of the players coming out of high school, to see what they're going to do between going pro, between staying in school, between high schoolers deciding to go to college or to junior college, where making it to where potentially a lot of the junior college players next year could end up going after one season into the MLB draft. But that's it for now, just on Major League Baseball. So there's a lot of things that still have to be decided. You're going to have the president, the head of the Players Union, Tony Clark, former 2000s first baseman for the Detroit Tigers, amongst others. You're going to have a wide appeal between top of the line and low line players in baseball that's going to end up basically trying to argue their way to figure out if they want, even if they want baseball to be back this year, or should they just kind of scrap the entire season, call this year off, and then make it go on to the following season. But with that all being said, please, if you have any comments, any concerns on it, if you have any questions on it, I'll try to get those answered for you. Just let me know. But if you do enjoy this, please like, subscribe. Please share it out to other people. Please hit the bell below the video. It does help a lot, to where whenever I do post these videos, we can get this out. I can get it out, and you can find these as basically as soon as I get them out, and you can see them very quickly on your feed. But with that all being said, I'm the Contained Kunas. This is Stat7 Sports. Y'all stay safe. Hopefully we get all this back soon and in a place that we have the vast majority agree with. Yeah, thank y'all for watching. See y'all next time.